And welcome back. This is Artist on Art. We're in the second half of our show for today, April 13th, 2016. I have the wonderful pleasure to be introducing Rich Sundance Owen. Rich is a force of nature here, local Santa Cruzian entrepreneur, artist, activist, and Gaia lover. What else can I say? Rich, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Nona. It's great to be here. Always to see your smiling face. Those who are listening to us don't get a chance to see that, but I do today. So thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you. And thank you for all the tremendous work that you're doing on behalf of the environment. You are an environmentalist that comes to it through the oceans.
Yes.
And tell us a little bit about that.
Wow, I'm just going to have to just like hop, skip, and jump, and you guys are just going to have to kind of fill in some blanks. But I fell in love with the oceans when I moved to Maui in like 2004, so imagine that as a good place to start. And then as I did some international travel, I found that there was pollution, plastic pollution, on every beach everywhere in the world. And I came back to Maui and learned about the North Pacific Gyre, the garbage patch in the Pacific Ocean. And a friend of mine was at the Health and Harmony Festival, and she was doing an area there. And she said, if you want to do an exhibit, you can bring it to the Health and Harmony there in Santa Rosa. And I hung up the phone, and I'm like, what is an exhibit? What does an exhibit look like to inform and educate people? And so that was the birth of the Plastic Planet art piece, which is a 5-foot round sphere of plastic bottles representing the Earth.
That's at least 16 feet high.
It's 11 feet high total.
Oh,
it's on a 5-foot tripod, and it's a 5-foot sphere of plastic bottles. So I just kind of started Artist on Art. That would be a great segue into today's conversation.
And so this giant, it's beautiful. And so could you just try to describe it a little bit for somebody's mind's eye that's listening?
It's just like a globe. I've used green bottles to represent the continents. So we have North America and Central America and South America, and then you rotate the globe and it's blue. You have all these blue bottles that I've used as the ocean. And then in the middle of the oceans, I've put the 5 major gyres, these big brown bottles, to inspire people to ask, what does that brown bottle represent? And then at the base of this art piece are 3 triangular billboards filling in the tripod, talking about the plastic pollution problem, and that this art was inspired to inform and educate the public.
And so, Rich, then you were inspired to make the gyrecleanup.com?
Correct. That was sort of my next sort of like... in 2008, there were not a lot of people talking about the garbage patch in the North Pacific, and very few people knew about it. It was sort of like the beginning of an education, and I couldn't find anybody that was thinking about trying to clean it up, because for me, my mother taught me when you make a mess, you clean it up. You don't say, can't be done. Sorry, Mom. So that started the Gyre Cleanup Project and Environmental Cleanup Coalition in 2008.
And Environmental Cleanup Coalition is
It's a 501c3.
So it's a nonprofit organization.
Correct.
And you have a board of directors that are all local talent here.
Yes, amazing local. Mostly women on the board of directors.
You're a smart man.
Yeah.
And so you have the Environmental Cleanup Coalition, which has really helped you partner with some amazing people here around town.
Everybody. What it did was it deeply educated me as to the human race's necessity to pull from the ocean a food supply. And coming to realize that the largest fishing trawler is so big that you can fit 13 jumbo jets in the mouth of this net, and then it just closes up and sort of indiscriminately gets what they want and throw back dead 20 to 50%. The commercial industry is one of the most wasteful worldwide for throwing back 20 to 50% of what catches dead. And so as we continue to deplete our oceans, and then when we add plastic, pollution, and other chemicals, now we're contaminating the food that is left in the ocean. So my mind just continues to, like, how do we solve this problem? And someone introduced me to aquaponics about 5 years ago, and that's really when, like, the lights kind of came on. I'm like, this is the alternate food supply that the human race will need to ease the pressure off of the oceans, because the oceans would recover if we just give them a break. Stop throwing our trash in there, clean it up, and stop pulling so much food from it. It's amazing how resilient nature is.
Okay, so Rich Sundance Owen, for somebody who's never heard of aquaponics, what would you tell them?
Backing up. Okay, aquaponics is the merging of hydroponically grown vegetables without soil and aquaculture, the propagation of fish in tanks or ponds. So both of these, hydroponics and aquaculture, are farming practices that go back thousands and thousands of years. And so the merging of those two, you get aquaponics. And it's a closed-loop system where the water is recirculated between the vegetables and the fish, whereas the fish fertilize for the plants and the plants clean the water for the fish. It's a mini ecosystem. Earth has been doing that for thousands and millions of years.
So,
let me introduce DJ CJ.
Oh, yeah. So, thank you so much. Thank you for coming in, by the way. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So, within that system, do you think that that's something that's commercially viable, that you could sell to a company that has already invested so much into, again, this huge trawler? Do you think that you could then go to them and say, hey, I've got this really convenient, really interesting system where you can just kind of recycle and reuse? Do you think that instead that they would be like, well, we've already got this, multi-million-dollar Death Star in the ocean?
There's not much that's going to stop them from continuing to do that. Our consumer dollar is probably the most powerful ask and statement that we have. By knowing where your seafood is coming from and what its source is, there's through the Monterey Bay Aquarium, there's a program called Seafood Watch, and so you can get that, and it's color coded. It's red for danger, and yellow for caution, and green for go. It's pretty nice, and you can get a downloadable app for your device of whatever electronic thing you play with.
Okay, so you have this aquaponic system. It's a closed-loop system. It sounds beautiful. How would I get to see one of these things?
How would you get to see one of these? This summer, we are going to...
This summer?
This summer. Okay, but back up. Okay, thank you.
What's happening this Saturday?
What's happening this Saturday? So, thank you, Nada. So Friday night, we're going to back up one more day. Friday night, we have the Fashion Teens event at the Santa Cruz Civic Auditorium at 7 p.m. So,
okay. So we got the Fashion Teens Trash and Fashion Show.
Trash and Fashion Show.
Which is a partnership of Environmental Cleanup Coalition and Kathleen Crocetti.
Yes.
And that is happening. It's an annual event. It's a beloved event.
It's our fourth year.
It's happening at the Civic Auditorium. It's that big, folks, and it's this Friday starting at 7 o'clock at the Santa Cruz Civic Auditorium. If you want to buy a ticket, because it is a ticket event, you can go to Fashion Teens
or SantaCruzTicket.com.
And just look for Fashion Teens Trash and Fashion Show. How did you get involved with this, Rich?
Wow. Backing up more before we go forward more. Great. I was at the Bioneers Conference, about 2009, shortly after starting Environmental Cleanup Coalition and the Gyre Cleanup Project. And there were some girls from Truckee that were running around in their trash and fashion. They had potato chip bags and rubber inner tubes, and they were saying, handing out little flyers because they were doing a trash and fashion on the catwalk outside, and they wanted everybody to come. And so these girls had come all the way from Truckee. I'm like, all right, sounds interesting, and they are also doing a trash and fashion show, and so they inspired me to bring that to Santa Cruz. So thank you, girls of Truckee. Woohoo!
Well, thank you, Rich, for bringing it to us, because again, like I said, it's beloved, and it's the teenagers that make the most beautiful clothes. It's incredible.
The requirement is that the students in the trash and fashion category have to make their outfit entirely from trash or waste or discarded, whatever it may be, bicycle inner tubes, caution tape, whatever's in excess that we would just naturally throw away. And so for that, we offer a cash prize for first, second, and third, and we also require the students to write an essay on what they've learned about plastic pollution in the ocean, because the whole point of the Trash and Fashion Show and the merging of Environmental Cleanup Coalition with Kathleen's project to create the Fashion Teens is to bring awareness to what's happening in our ocean, to educate the youth as to what's going on and the reality of that.
I was going to say, I think that if anybody goes down to the ocean, you can see the dramatic effects on the coastline as far as the amount of birds, the amount of sea life, specifically seabirds. I did a piece recently for this just in from Outdoors on the seabirds and the effect that the small amount of plastics has on seabirds. So it's interesting to me that you guys would then take that a step further and then say, well, we're actually going to put this on display. We're going to have people take something that's, killing these small creatures, and we're going to put them in beautiful dresses and costumes, and we're going to put them on display for everybody to see. If you could, I don't know, what do you think would be the overall message that you're trying to convey to people by putting people in garbage and in trash?
It's an educational process because there's so many people that don't know about the plastic pollution issue. If you walk along the beach, for example, you will find plastic on every beach, everywhere, worldwide. It's a problem. Over 1 million seabirds die every year. And until we educate the public as to there's a problem, then we are only dealing with half of it. We could clean up after them on the beach, and I do, and we do. I could clean up after them in the streets or while I'm on vacation, and as a larger entity, we can address the cleanup of the oceans and the rivers and things like that. But if we don't educate people to the other side of prevention, of let's not use Mylar balloons. The last year's winner wrote such a profound essay about a whale that had ingested Mylar balloons and, of course, died, and it was up on the beach, and they did an autopsy. And so her evening gown was made entirely of Mylar balloons, used, of course, discarded by someone in their happy birthdayness. And so it was a very profound statement that was made with the essay, with the educating of one student. There's a quick story that I'd like to share about before the show. We have a slideshow that plays and educating people about plastic pollution and what it does to the birds and things like that. 2 weeks later, the little girl, the 13-year-old that was in the show, and the mom were driving along the boardwalk, and the little 6-year-old girl screams, "Mommy, stop the car." And so the mom didn't know what was going on, slams on the brakes, and she said, "Mom, we've got to take the plastic away from that bird or it's going to die." And so the mom had to make a decision on whether to pull over where there's no place to pull over and risk getting a ticket or drive on and let her daughter be forever marred or something. So she pulled over, turned on the flashers, and of course the seagull took off and they got to grab the plastic and save the bird. So now, because of the Trash and Fashion show and the event, these people are educated in a way that they would not otherwise be exposed to the education. So we're reaching a different demographics by doing the Trash and Fashion. We're reaching a different demographics by the 11-foot plastic planet. We're reaching a different demographics by teaching kids aquaponics, for example.
Yeah. You're listening to Rich Sundance Owen. He is talking about the many projects that he is working on in inspiration to help Mother Earth and the oceans. We also have in the studio DJ CJ. We're going to have to work on what that is because it's unofficial. I'm just saying that right now. But let's get back to aquaponics, if you don't mind.
Yes, we were talking about the schedule of events this weekend.
That's right.
And we got sort of sidetracked on it.
It's a really big weekend. So we got Friday night. The Fashion Teens starting at 7 o'clock, downtown Civic Center. Then on Saturday is our Santa Cruz celebration of Earth Day, which I believe Environmental Cleanup Coalition will be involved with.
Yes,
so you'll have a booth there.
We'll have a booth there.
People can come by and talk with you and sign up if they want your newsletters. And then also, you are going to be exhibiting at the Santa Cruz Mini Maker Fair, first ever here.
First ever, the Mini Maker Fair at Santa Cruz. We're so excited. It is going to be a bit of a challenge for me because I'm going to be in two places at once, but fortunately I have some beautiful people around me to aid in that. So we're going to have, at CSA Aquaponics is going to be at the Mini Maker Fair this Saturday, the 16th, and we're going to have on display one of the 3 sizes of aquaponics kits that we're going to be selling here shortly. So I believe we're going to make the medium size kit, and then people can get an idea of what does an aquaponic system look like and what could it look like in my backyard. So we'll be there answering a bunch of questions on how you can get your own kit this summer.
And the Mini Maker Fair takes place on April 16th. That's this Saturday at Gateway School, which is located at 126 Eucalyptus Avenue and Westcliff here in Santa Cruz. And for more information, you could go to makerfairsantacruz.com. That's fair with an E. And so CSA Aquaponics, what's that?
I got to food through the plastic pollution issues and seeing that the human race as a whole needs to stop eating so much from the ocean. But the human population is now doubling faster than it should. Somebody asked me, what can you do to save the planet? I'm like, well, we could stop breeding. If take a 20-year break or something, I mean, not talking about forever, just take a break. But anyway, so CSA Aquaponics, the food is the key. I've been trying to educate people about plastic pollution and chemicals moving up the food chain and knowing where your food is coming from since the beginning of Environmental Cleanup Coalition in 2008. And now that I'm talking to people about their food source and that they can control their own food sovereignty for anybody who wants it, these kits are backyard kits that are expandable, small, medium, and large. And each one's expandable to the next size. So now we're offering people the ability to know where their fish comes from, and you can grow freshwater eels, mussels, crawdads. Crawdads are big. I didn't know you could get so big of crawdads, but
good eating too.
All of that. Now that people are thinking more about where their food comes from, they're listening a little bit more about why we're pushing and talking about, because aquaponics is really in its new infancy. It's like a tidal wave that is just going across the planet. There's Australian kids that are starting aquaponics business. There's aquaponics workshops on every continent year-round. You can find an aquaponics workshop someplace. Santa Cruz is probably a central hub because of our already natural farming richness in this area.
And the big permacultural community.
The big permaculture community, exactly. So aquaponics is huge. I know that there's at least a half a dozen different people or entities in and around Santa Cruz doing aquaponics. So it's a great community building, hence the name CSA aquaponics. Community-supported agriculture is a farming model that is also taking rage across not only America, but across the world, as where people are getting more connected with where their food is coming from, connecting directly with the farmer. The community-supported agricultural model means that people pay in advance for their food to the farmer, literally giving him seed money to grow their food. And so then the people come to the CSA farm weekly and pick up whatever is growing, whether it's summertime or wintertime squashes. So the CSA model is fabulous. So merging CSA and aquaponics, to me, just seems like the natural bridge.
Where can I get more information about this, Rich?
CSAquaponics.com.
And then what about the other stuff? Environmental Cleanup Coalition, is that mostly still at Gyre Cleanup?
It is at gyrecleanup.org. We're in the process of revamping the website, sort of broadening the mission from its original conception of cleaning up the plastic to educating people worldwide about the problem. And so we're changing our URL to Environmental Cleanup Coalition, as in broadening our perspective with a new website coming up soon. But right now, gyrecleanup.org, spelled G-Y-R-E, cleanup.org. You can catch us there.
And you have people calling you from all over the world, all the continents.
All over the world. People always are emailing me and saying, how can I help? What can I do? I have an idea. I want to clean it up. And it's becoming more so and more so. So we're getting a real sort of like feel that there's new inspiration around addressing a major cleanup in the oceans.
What is the biggest idea right now, or would you say the most feasible idea to clean up the area within the Gyre? Because I know that you have microplastics, and then you have things that are a little bit larger, and then you have the big chunks. So is there an idea thus far that it seems to be the best idea?
Yes, and it's a long answer. There is a kid, Boyan Slant, in the Netherlands that's doing a buoy system where the buoys are like in a triangle coming to a point, and then there's a collection point. And so the buoys only go down about 3 feet from surface to below that. So the idea is to let the natural currents bring the plastic to the collection device rather than running around in circles out there. The interesting thing is that no matter who you talk to about it, it's only a matter of time before their mind starts imagining some way that it can be cleaned up. It's a fascinating discovery that, as I expose this information to people over the years, they come up with, well, couldn't we get a ship, or couldn't it be solar panel, robot, or all kinds of different ideas. And so the best idea that we've come up with today is to have an international contest offering a large grand prize, say $1 million, to the best idea for how to clean up the plastic. With a prestigious engineering and oceanographer panel, let the experts discern what idea is the best. And so the Gyre Cleanup Contest would then be an educational campaign calling out to students as well as professional engineering firms and universities for the idea, but to the general public, to the backyard tinkerer, to the anybody who has a crazy idea of how to remove plastic, they could submit that, and then a prestigious panel could discern what would be the best. So that's probably the best idea that we've come up with in the last 8 years, because I've imagined all sorts of different sweeping things and so forth.
We only have a minute left here, Rich.
Perfect.
You've got one more big project. I know you've got probably 10 more big projects on your mind, but you've got one in particular that I want you to just tell us a little quickie. What do you see happening real soon?
Which one? The Farmer Joe Kickstarter?
Yes.
Thank you very much. We are putting together a animated video to teach kids how to build aquaponic food systems, and then supplying them with as many kits as that we can get in their hands in multiple languages. Look for the Farmer Joe Kickstarter coming to you soon.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for all that you're doing, Rich, and helping the world. DJ CJ, thank you so much for coming in, and you'll be with us for the next 2 months almost.
Yeah.
It's fabulous. Please stay tuned for Ramblin' Round. It's going to be a great show. Thanks again for listening, and have a great weekend. There's lots to do. Enjoy.